Let's see. We'll all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
No.
Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So roll call, please.
Teresa,
Present.
Michelle,
Present.
Kate,
Here.
Gladys,
Here.
Lauren here, Bridget absent, Julie,
Here.
Ralph,
Present.
Albert,
Here.
Louisa. Here.
All right. Yeah, please.
The Board of Education welcomes public participation and asks that comments be limited to 3 minutes. The public may offer objective comments of school operations and programs that concern them. The board will not permit any expression of personal complaints or defamatory comments about Board of Education personnel and students, nor any against any person connected with the Danbury Public Schools system.
Okay, doesn't look like we have anyone for public participation tonight, so okay. Just kidding. All right, so just like Lauren said, there's 3 minutes per person. We'll give you a 30-second reminder to wrap it up. And the first person, move to the end. Okay. Is that, so it looks like it says move to the end. So Jody Seals.
Is this where I sit?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. By now, you're all aware of what's been happening at Pembroke, and I'm sure a lot of what I'm going to say is going to be repeated tonight. But we as parents are worried, heartbroken, angry, and concerned, and I speak to you tonight in hopes that you can somehow help. I could address many things regarding this situation, including how these threats could possibly be the red flags that contribute to the increasing amount of school tragedies in our country, the help the student obviously needs to be able to meet these threats and keep this secret, the city's resources that this takes away each time they're called to the school, the disruptions to our to our children's learning, and the mental health of our school community. The most important thing in this situation, though, is that this person needs to be identified and these threats need to stop. I know protocols have been put into place after the first 3 threats, such as tightening up bathroom sign-out procedures, the buddy system when leaving classrooms, only one student using the bathroom at a time, adults outside of the bathrooms, and finally cameras installed around the school. I was so hopeful that this would finally result in finding the person responsible. However, after the 4th threat, and all of these protocols in place, we are still left with no answers. How is an elementary age student able to continue to make these threats without getting caught? I know Dr. Epple spent time on Friday and Tuesday reviewing camera footage. I'm wondering if the school is left to figure this out on their own, or have they asked for help from the authorities? In an email from the principal, she said, quote, "It is my understanding that the police do not take over the investigation with children of this age." Unquote. She also mentioned, a direct quote again, "The police officers here on Friday stayed with us and asked questions to help us process. Otherwise, the police don't get involved in the investigation." I also asked her that if the school is able to narrow down suspects, but no confessions are made, would the police be helping to analyze handwriting or something else to catch the person? And she responded by saying, direct quote again, "I'm not sure if they'll look at handwriting samples. They've never offered, but I can ask the detective when we connect." After threat number 4, it seems the school needs help. Why is law enforcement not taking responsibility in any of this?
30 seconds.
If this were any other public establishment with continued threats, police would surely be involved. This is a criminal act that affects the well-being of every person in the building. It seems absurd to put all of this on school staff and not trained investigative professionals. If the threat escalates in the future, who will be liable? Our kids need help. I'm asking you, our board members, to push the city to assist with this investigation so that we can keep our school safe. I'm not sure what the answers are, but so far this is not it. How can we help our babies? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so next up, before we continue on, I noticed in that reading, there was emails and you were quoting emails and stuff like that. If you don't mind not doing that, only because the other person's not here to verify what you're saying. So anyone else coming back up? And, oh, sorry. Are you gonna speak in public participation?
She's here, right? Yes.
All right. So, Christine Haruf.
Good evening. Some of you may know me already or have seen me wearing various hats around the district here. I'm very passionate about doing what I can to support and make us as successful as we can be as a district. So I'm here today as the parent of a 5th grader at Pembroke, where I'm also the president of the PTO. And I've expressed these concerns to some community leaders, including Superintendent Walston and Board Chairman Petrofessa. But I'm here tonight to reiterate those concerns. So Pembroke has 4 times since returning from Thanksgiving break needed to drop the pencils or sandwiches from their hands and abruptly evacuate when written threats were discovered in random bathrooms. Each time, over 450 staff and students, many of whom with special needs, were forced to wait outside in the cold or the rain for emergency personnel to come and deem the building safe for reentry. Parents have had their days upended, afraid their child's school is about to be the next tragedy on national news, or simply worried how their baby is handling the emotional strain this time. Despite the interventions and protocols put in place to inhibit this behavior, those responsible managed to remain anonymous. How can we expect our students to learn? How can we expect our teachers to teach? Or our parents to feel secure when they're all hyper-focused on when it's going to happen again? On the one hand, it's understandable to view this as an obnoxious prank orchestrated by a Pembroke student that needs to just stop. But on the other hand, it's important we remain cognizant of the fact that we live in a world where recently a 6-year-old brought a gun to school to deliberately shoot their teacher. This may be just a Pembroke inconvenience for now. But how can Pembroke, the Danbury School District, or the community as a whole, ever have peace of mind not knowing when or where the unchecked reasons motivating this behavior could suddenly resurface, or worse, escalate into actual tragic actions? I beg you all to err on the side of caution and treat this like the potentially serious community issue it is, with concerns and ramifications much larger than a Pembroke nuisance. The valiant efforts made so far have not gone unnoticed. I truly appreciate the protocols that Dr. Apple has put in place, the teachers that have given up their prep to monitor locations, and central office that has expedited the installation of cameras, and even Superintendent Wilson, your letter today with outlining some additional procedures and safety advocates that will be in place. I do appreciate this. However, I come before you tonight to ask that you please continue to step up these efforts with a commitment to discovery, not just deterrence, and to be proactive, not just reactive. This behavior is well past the line of a prank, and it is essential that the responsible parties receive the support they clearly need, not just to end the interruptions to learning, but to make our schools and community safer. Thank you for your time, and I hope you renewed dedication to this concern.
Thank you. Christina Sweeney.
Hello. I am actually not here to talk about Pembroke. I'm Christina Sweeney. I am a resident of Danbury. I'm a parent of the 2 students at Danbury High School who've attended Danbury Public Schools since kindergarten. I've been actively involved in several PTOs as well as citywide PTOs since my children were in Mill Ridge Primary. First, let me say thank you for your time and service to the community and to our public schools in this capacity. I am here tonight because I have questions about the public support many members of the Danbury Board of Ed have been lending to the proposed charter school for Danbury. Specifically, I'm talking about the press release that went out asking for funding to be included in the governor's budget that was signed by several Board of Ed members. I saw it on Twitter, but was there a conversation about this endorsement at a Board of Ed meeting? Was a vote taken? There is no Board of Ed agenda or minutes that I'm aware of that included that discussion. A Board of Ed member's primary role is responsible oversight of the public schools of the community they are elected to represent. Charter schools, as I assume you know, do not in any way fall under the purview of local boards of education. I am confused as to why several members currently serving on this board are actively promoting a charter school over which the board will have zero jurisdiction or oversight. Moreover, charter schools have no accountability to the local community. Any interest would seem to be personal and/or political. Honestly, from the outside looking in, it appears that some Board of Ed members would like to outsource the education of our children to privately managed organizations with no local supervision or accountability. That seems like a conflict of interest at best and dereliction of duty at worst. Furthermore, a charter school in Danbury is going to cost the district money. As you are well aware, this is a district that has no wiggle room when it comes to budgets and expenditures. The proposed charter school is not going to alleviate overcrowding in any meaningful way, and instead is going to cost the district money. Busing alone for the first year, I understand to be estimated at over $500,000. Providing special education services will be an additional cost. It would seem that board members' energy should be spent ensuring that the Career Academy and its specialized programs will be fully funded, staffed, and ready to open sooner rather than later. In contrast to a charter, the Career Academy is a school that the Board of Ed is responsible for overseeing and that will serve a majority of our students. We have entrusted you to be advocates for our children and to provide them with the best education possible while also maintaining fiscal responsibility. It is not fiscally responsible to advocate for a secondary system that will drain resources from the current schools. Advocating for a school that will serve 6% of our student population and that has no accountability to our community is not looking out for the best interests of our children or Danbury. If you are truly interested in advocating for our kids, I invite you to speak at the City Council like I do every year in the coming months about the importance of fully funding the 23-24 budget that you will approve. Our kids and our community deserve your undivided attention and action on their behalf to ensure our public schools are the absolute best they can be. I welcome anyone who would like to continue this dialogue with me. Thank you.
Amanda Pasquarello.
Hi, as so many of us have already stated, we are here as Pembroke parents concerned about what's happening at Pembroke. I kind of speak with two hats that I wear, one through the lens of a parent, the other through the lens of an elementary school teacher. I had this beautiful piece that was written, and it actually has been reiterated so many times already. I don't want to waste your time. I do want to bring attention to one of the proactive solutions that I do believe is important and is greatly missing in our public education. That is simply that we are not providing all students with the coping mechanisms that they need in order to survive their daily social and emotional encounters. It is no surprise, both out of COVID and prior to COVID, our culture is changing. The increasing of school shootings is nonstop. And the fact of the matter is, we as a public education institution are not providing every child with those coping mechanisms. They're not coming into school knowing how to manage their emotions. They are not coming into school knowing how to identify and react when they feel something in a safe and manageable way. And so every year, I sit and I listen to every board meeting every week. And every year, I go out and I support budget in some sort of way. And every year I hear our fantastic central office team present how they are in hopes of building the social and emotional needs of students and supporting them. And every year I hear our expulsion rates are going up. And I hear that now we have 4 bomb threats in an elementary school. What we are doing is not working. Plain and simple. It's not working. So now we find what does work. And I agree, it's not outsourcing the overcrowding. What is helpful is proactively teaching, as Mr. Wilson said, a Tier 1 social emotional learning curriculum. It requires budget, it requires time, there's already so much on our plates, but it's not something that can be overlooked anymore. It's not about adding counselors to support after the fact.
30 seconds.
It is about getting ahead of it and changing the way that our children react to their emotions. Because it's happening with our babies, and it's happening with our adolescents, and it is destroying our schools. Thank you.
Janice Anderson.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for hearing me tonight. I'm actually not here to talk about Pembroke. I didn't know about it until I came home tonight. It's frightening to hear though. But it does, what I have to say does follow right on what Ms. Amanda was just saying. I'm here tonight to express my concern related to the current guidance counselor staffing level at Westside Middle School Academy and what is being done to expedite to fill the open counselor position. Those of you who have met me know I'm a DPS cheerleader. I speak before the City Council in support of the Board of Education's budget. I'm doing everything I can to get correct information to people about the academies of Danbury and encouraging everybody to get out there and learn more about it. So what I say to you tonight, I say as a partner, in the spirit of a partner with the district. Let me start by saying that my concern is not that Westside is doing anything wrong. In fact, Westside and its administrators, Mr. Blue, Mr. Flynn, seem to be doing everything they can with one hand tied behind their backs. And school counselor, Curtis Dara, he's a wonder. Westside is budgeted for 2 full-time school counselors. It currently has 1. Over the summer, one of the school counselors retired, leaving an opening at the school. My understanding is that a counselor from the high school was approved to transfer to the middle school. He's been not allowed to make that move because they haven't hired a replacement for him. The opening on Westside remains on the district website. There's another one for Danbury High School counselor, 3 long-term subs for Danbury High School. And I went to double check Broadview and Rogers Park, and evidently there's an opening of some sort of Broadview as well, but that's not even advertised in the district. To date, 108 days into the school year, almost 2/3 of the way through the year, the open counselor position at Westside has not been filled. This at a time when the CDC has just released a survey from its 2021 Youth Risk Behavior, which the officials themselves find alarming, and many experts are warning of mental health crisis among our youth. There are 750 students at Westside. Half, 375 of them have an assigned counselor. The other half do not. 375 students have been without an assigned counselor since the first day of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and continue to be so almost 2/3 of the way through the school year. We can debate whether Danbury's ratio of 1 counselor to 375 middle school students is reasonable as compared to the 1 to 250 recommended by the American School Counselor Association, or the 1 to 343 average in the state of Connecticut. But you have to agree with me. You have to agree with me that the answer to the question of what is a reasonable ratio of counselors to middle school students can never be 0 to 375.
30 seconds.
I commend and thank Mr. Darrow, Mrs. Blue, Mr. Flynn, and all the other staff at the school. Somehow they're making it work. But the district is asking too much of them. If kids are in crisis, those that work with them are working under more stress than ever. They can only do so much. And we're shortchanging our children. Middle schools are formative years, a time when they're transitioning and need as much guidance as possible. I hope you'll do what you can to address this issue. Thank you.
Richard Janelli.
Seems like we're facing the wrong way. Mr. Wilson, Mr. Professor, cabinet members, board members,
Rich, can you talk into the mic so we can get it on record?
I still haven't learned. I wrote a nice script. I spent a long time doing it for transparency. I'm in basketball with my daughter too, so I did want to come here tonight, not to reiterate what has been said, but only to ask you to listen to these parents. They're, as you were, they're frustrated, they're concerned, they're scared, and I thank you, Mr. Wilson, for offering to meet with them in person. I think the personal contact that you would have, the board person would have, in meeting these people and have open conversations, but also afford you the opportunity to listen to some of the suggestions they will have. It's nice to hear a community come together and not just complain about something. This is a serious issue, not only in the district, but throughout the country. The next thing is, I think in the next few weeks, you're going to be advocating for your budget, as I certainly will, and have always done. This is a primary example of telling the story. There has to be a way to include this in with your graphs, in with your numbers, in with your presentations to tell this particular story. Also, we often talk about impact. It's also important you can say what the impact of not having this is, the potential impact on a district of 12,500 kids for not being able to fund what's necessary for you to provide any professional services, whether it be social or whether it be academic. I do want to compliment Ms. Mead on a presentation I went to last week in terms of storytelling. It was an incredible presentation made by Erica Hines. I think from that, it would be a good way to take some of these issues and present them into the budget. What we've been doing in the past in terms of budget presentations is really falling on deaf ears, and I think they need an eye-opener as to what the realities are. Thank you very much.
Kara Prunty?
I'm just gonna let you know that I'm very pregnant and I get winded very easily. So, sorry. I have to just read it. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Like so many other parents here, I am concerned for the safety of my kindergartner at Pembroke Elementary. I am appreciative of all the work that has been done thus far to keep our kids safe, and thank you to the Danbury Police, our emergency management director, for all they've done during those 4 months.
Karen, can you just talk into the mic a little bit? Thank you.
I had the unique experience to witness firsthand one of the threats in December, and it was incredible to see the kindness, compassion, empathy, and quick actions by the teachers and staff in the school. Many kids were scared, crying, and getting wet in the cold rain, and Pembroke staff went above and beyond to help them feel safe. But how could a child who's now scared, cold, and emotional go back into the classroom and continue to learn? I know this is a very complicated situation, but with the new cameras and additional safety measures, I urge you to please do whatever you can do to identify the individual or individuals terrorizing our kids. I encourage you to use every investigative resource legally available to you. And then just the question, what law enforcement resources have been involved in the investigation to date and to what degree? I also ask that we revisit the school safety and evacuation plans to ensure that it's a safe place for our children to evacuate the building. My child adores going to school and loves his teacher. But how can we expect our children to thrive in an environment of fear? Instead of discussing sight words on answering questions about what would happen if a bomb went off while he's at school. The teachers and faculty at Pembroke deserve a safe environment to teach our children. It's hard enough, and our kids deserve a safe place to grow in. Thank you for your attention to this, and I sincerely hope it can be resolved.
Okay, Jean Rivet?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jean Rivet, Danbury resident, and I'm also here because of Pembroke School where my grandson attends. So I'd just like to say a couple of things. I've had thousands of students. I think any teacher, any person here who's a teacher can easily tell when a student is telling the truth or not after a couple of years of teaching. And have you considered it might not be a child at all? If it is a child, then the teacher who spoke before me seems correct about all children's mental health is not being addressed, because this child obviously would have some kind of emotional problem. If it's an adult, how many ways might that be indicative of a distraught staff member, and how would anyone know without a police investigation if it's an adult, how close to the mental jumping off point are they if they would go to this extreme to threaten our students and our schools? I've personally been involved in an active shooter threat as a teacher in a school and still have, this was 3 years ago, I still get a lot of anxiety when I think back on it. And I'm an adult and I usually can know how to handle my emotions. But these are little kids, and I've seen the real true fear in my grandson's face, and I'm sure, you know, many other students there as well, but I'm hoping that all of these things are being considered, and I know when I was involved in that active shooter, SWAT came to the school. I'm not sure what happened here. I know the police came, but I hope that it's being, with the climate in the country today, I just hope that everybody's taking it as seriously as possible. Thank you.
Chelsea Heller?
Hello, I'm Chelsea Heller. My son's a second grader at Pembroke. I don't have anything prepared or anything like that. I just kind of wanted to go off what everyone else is saying, but kind of tell a story. So my son is absolutely terrified to go to school. He's home, he was home today. The last time there was a bomb threat, I kept him home for a whole week. He won't go unless I can confirm that he's safe. And I cannot confirm that he's safe. He's just terrified. So I'm just pleading for you guys to please step in and do something. He's just like all the other kids. I'm sure. He just wants to go back to school. I mean, he's begged me to get him into a different school, get him into homeschooling. I mean, he brought up homeschooling today, and this is the most social kid ever. He is terrified to go back to school. So.
Okay, that's everybody I have on the list. So just for clarification, we typically don't go back and forth on addressing any of the questions or issues that come up now, but I did ask Kevin to, we're gonna put that aside for tonight and address some of the things that, you know, some concerns, just as an update on where we are and, you know, what's going on.
I showed up late. Is it possible for me to
Absolutely.
get something in the record?
Absolutely. Just if you could give your name.
Yep. Good evening, everyone. My name is Juan Rivas, 59 Dana Road. I have 2 children in the school system. I just came from work, so I apologize for not having a prepared speech. I thank you all for letting me speak tonight and get this on the record. I speak on behalf of the Pembroke parents as well. It looks like a lot of it has been already said. What I ask of the board is, I please implore you guys to step up your efforts when it comes to the PD, City Hall, whoever you need to go to help have this resolved in a very timely manner, because this last event, my son had a breakdown. And I'm amazed that it took, 4 bomb threats for him to finally have a breakdown. And it, like the last parent just spoke, it's starting to have an effect on the children. And we can't continue with this uncertainty. I work 45 minutes away from home. I do get the text alerts when the schools go into the shutdown, but it leaves me helpless that I'm at work and I'm getting these text messages and I can't do anything about it. Now to include as well, my wife is a tutor there at the school. So now I have a spouse and a child that are in the school when this is happening. God forbid something happens, I now lose half of my family. God forbid something were to happen. I can't accept that and I won't accept that. So I ask of you guys to please step up your efforts. Let's get the to the end of this and find out who's behind this. That's what I ask you to. Thank you.
So like I said, typically we don't really have a discussion back and forth, but I asked Kevin to update kind of where we are and what's going on, if that's okay with everybody else.
So one, I want to thank the families for joining us this evening. Dr. Apple, thank you for also being here this evening to support your school. I'm having a hard time hearing this for a number of reasons. Many of those reasons are the same reasons why our families are here tonight. I've been in meetings, and so because of those meetings, I know a lot of the families who spoke here tonight, and respect the fact that you are concerned about your child's safety. And then I've met some new families here this evening, and I want to thank you for coming as well. I know some of the families spoke. Ms. Anderson, when she came up and made it clear that she's a partner in this work, and I know that is true of many of you who have talked this evening. So I want to thank you for that continued support of the district in partnership to date. The security and safety of all of our kids is our utmost priority, and period. And let me also be clear, this latest priority and shift that we made during the holiday break, Christmas break, and many in the audience may not be aware of this, but part of our security grant that the district has, Pembroke was on a rotation to get upgraded surveillance equipment. We made sure that that equipment was updated during the break in light of the incidents prior to the Christmas break. I'm mentioning this not to just reiterate it because I just sent it in an email today, but I'm mentioning this because we have new resources available to us that we did not have before the Christmas break, and I'm not ready to give up on the investigation that just started on Friday. And so I'm saying that with a tone of my voice, like I feel like we're much closer than we've been before, and I feel confident that we'll have some information available for you and our school community sooner rather than later because of the resources available that we've implemented during the break. We just have answers to questions we did not have before, and this has given us eyes on different parts of the building that we did not have before. So I want to start there, and I just want to share with everyone the investigation started on Friday. Sharon, if you don't mind, I also want to help the principal because she sent out a correspondence to her community that may have given families the impression that we stopped the investigation or we stopped viewing the cameras because of the break, and that cannot be further from the truth. The reality is the investigation was because it happened on a Friday. There were students and perhaps even staff, to one of the questions that I heard, that we think about the fact that this could be someone other than a student. And once we see the video, now there are people who have to be investigated, who have to be interviewed. And between ELP, which is our extended learning program, we have folks who have access to our buildings before school, during, obviously our staff, and then after school. And so we have video footage of all of that movement throughout the day. And so if in the event a note may have been left in one of these spaces the night before, during school, there are staff that we can get to in real time during the school day, and then some staff on a Friday at 4:30, 5 o'clock when my assistant superintendent and principal are still meeting with kids. But at a certain point, because of the time of the day that it happened, they were not able to get to all the people who needed to be interviewed. And so that is what had to continue today on Wednesday when we got back. And so I just want to clarify that message that went out. So it was less about continuing to look at the video and more about the investigation itself that had to continue into this week when we return to school. So I just want to share that with the families because I don't want anyone to think that we stopped working on this because we were up against the weekend and we all had plans to get out of town. That was,
We, by board, or are you including police?
I apologize, we're already off our track, anyway, we can't interact, we're going back and forth. That's why I just, he's making a statement, and we'll follow up, you have emails and stuff like that. I mean, it's the policy and the rules and regs of the board. No, I understand it, believe me, I'm in this district a long time, I understand it. It's just, we can't conduct, we're already over the time for public participation already, and we're just pushing that aside because of the severity of the issue.
So, and to be clear, when I say we, there is no separation in situations like this between the principal, the superintendent, and the assistant superintendents in support for the school. So we means collectively, it's we. So from our security team to our chief HR person to assistant superintendents, when it's we, it's we. Our principal, whether it's Danbury High School, middle school, or in this case, Pembroke Elementary School, we means the red phone goes off and all of us are in the room circling around to support that building in need of support at that time. I also heard a cry for help, and Amanda, please excuse me because you were crying for help, but it's really like, hey, we need to be more intentional about helping kids and not being reactive and being more proactive. And we hear you loud and clear. And for the families who are not familiar with this idea, Ms. Pasquarella is a teacher, and so she understands how effective this strategy can be. And it's really about the idea of helping and working with kids and being intentional about addressing their social emotional health. And post-pandemic, immediately when we returned during the pandemic and right after the pandemic, we were really intentional about incorporating these ideas into our curriculum. Some of our families might recall getting things back when our kids were coming home, and it was about building community in the classrooms, etc. And I think we don't have a choice but to revisit some of those ideas and figure out what this means, not only in schools like Pembroke, but schools across the system. So we, not only just in light of your email in this latest incident, we will be revisiting how we go about working with kids in regard to their social emotional health, and how all of us, and again, when talking about tier one, it's our teacher who's in front of us every day, because we don't have enough counselors and social workers to get to every single student. I'm really, really concerned about where we are as a district. Quite frankly, the information from the last couple of days, I feel much better, and I feel like we're much closer to identifying the person responsible. But I'm also really concerned about the damage this has left on our school community over these last couple of months. And so my team and I, we think, and the reason why we sent this invitation out to the community, number one, I was fortunate enough, there are 3 people in the audience tonight who I consider partners in this work, who said, hey, Kevin, I think it would be good, and I'll be happy to help get families in to have a community conversation about this. And so to all of you guys who are in the front row, I'd like to thank you for that. And so we listened and we heard. And so we will have a meeting at Pembroke next Thursday. I believe it's at 7 o'clock. So that's one. And then 2, we will have a similar meeting with staff at Pembroke on Tuesday, right after school. Understanding and recognizing and appreciating the fact that they're going through the same feelings and emotions that our families are at home. And so soon after, we will talk about plans to just help to restore our respective climates in our building. And I do not have a magic wand, but I just want to be clear that we understand that there's a problem. And that's something my team and I will be working on over these next couple of weeks. But we will be starting with listening to our families and to our staff and helping to identify a plan that really makes sense and helps to get the Pembroke community back on learning and not having to be concerned about being safe in school. So I really appreciate all of you coming out tonight, and thank you for the clarifying question. Coming out this evening, this is serious for all of us. We will find the person who is responsible for it and do everything we can to restore your faith in us, and make sure that our school community is safe. So I just want to thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
I make a motion that the Board of Education approve the items on the consent calendar, exhibits 23-36 through 23-39 as recommended.
Second.
Second, so motion made by Lawrence, seconded by Kate. All those in favor, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Okay. Student representatives? I see Kaylee over there.
You're ready.
Okay. I see, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And it's you.
All right, hey guys.
You're great every time, we're ready.
Good evening, Board of Ed members, cabinet, and community members. Thank you for allowing me to represent and speak on behalf of the Alternative Center for Excellence. Daniela Esposito's creative writing / children's literature class has been collaborating with Ms. Huntington's third grade class at Ellsworth. The goal of this collaboration is to provide the third graders. Sorry. I'm nervous.
Kaylee, you're a pro at this.
So say, you're here every month, you're here every meeting, I don't know.
You were on the board
Fall
project.
apart.
There's a lot more people here this time, that's why.
Yeah. Is to provide the third graders with a high school reading buddy and pen pal. And for the A students, it gives them the opportunity.
You got this.
Oh, it's gonna work now.
Start again.
Okay. I'm nervous right now.
I'm gonna read for her.
Sorry.
She usually does great, so she just having a minute. Good evening, Board of Ed members, cabinet and community members. Thank you for allowing me to represent and speak on behalf of the Alternative Center for Excellence. Daniela Esposito's creative writing children's literature class has been collaborating with Mrs. Huntington's third grade class at Ellsworth. The goal of this collaboration is to provide the third graders with a high school reading buddy and pen pal. And for the A students, it gives them the opportunity to draw and write with a younger student and to recognize the important role they can have as a mentor. This semester includes a new group of A students who will be matched with 2 to 3 students each. The plan is to meet monthly to have the third graders illustrate high schoolers' accumulating projects, a published children's book.
On March 23rd, ACE will be offering the SAT to all ACE 11th graders. A special thanks to Kyle Chicola for coordinating that effort. During that day, ACE will also take all 9th and 10th graders to the White Memorial Conservation Center in Litchfield, Connecticut. Also on this day, all 12th graders will tour the NVCC campuses in Danbury and Waterbury. Naugatuck Valley Community College, by the way. Thanks to all the proctors and chaperones who make offering these opportunities possible for the ACE student body. Next page. Students at ACE will complete the Henry Abbott Tech After School program on March 8th before the final debrief as a group at ACE with John. Thank you, Principal Durkin, for organizing an after-school program for students interested in exploring the following trades: hairdressing and cosmetology, auto collision repair, culinary arts, HVAC, and precision manufacturing. ACE has 7 students participating in the program every Monday and Wednesday from 3 to 5 after school. ACE would like to publicly recognize the January Students of the Month, Genesis Andujar and Cole Ferrantino. Thank you both for your hard work and determination. In semester 1, we'll need distinguished honors, and and Genesis made high office. Thank you all for allowing us to share what is going on with our East family. And have a nice evening, stay healthy, and remain strong.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Action items. Ms. Cooper, can you read A?
Action item A, January 2023 financial report. I move that the Board of Education accept the January 2023 financial report in accordance with Exhibit 23-40, page 16.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second. Okay. Motion made by Ms. Cooper, seconded by Mr. Russo. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Okay, you want to read B?
Motion that the Board of Education recommend to the City Council to update the members of the School Building Committee, Danbury Career Academy, to reflect the new board leadership members, Ralph Sexbesa, Board Chair, and Michelle Coelho, Sites and Facilities Committee Chair, in accordance with Exhibit 23-41.
Okay, second on that? Okay, motion made by Kate, seconded by Teresa. Any discussion?
Just a quick question, Mr. Chairman. This position has always had two representatives on the board?
I believe so. It was Rachel and
We did
Louisa.
most recently, yes.
Okay.
And prior, before Rachel, am I sort of, I think it was Kathy Monero and someone else from the board.
I remember
So-
Kathy, yes.
So it had always been two members from this board. And my question is leading to, I can see the chairperson taking that responsibility and being so now, when we've done it over the past years, where we had two representatives, then you did answer my question. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I
Okay,
abstain.
one abstention, Lisa,
I'm abstaining as well, please.
and two abstentions, Kate.
Thank you.
Okay, so carries 8-2, right? Okay, great. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, sir. So I would like to start with, before I start with item A, we have a visitor in the room with us, and I'm not talking about the visitors in front of the room, but behind Ms. Cooper, and Kim Thompson is going to talk to us about this display that's going to use.
So I just want to take a second to share with you this new banner. Our team, because we are in a bit of our cyclical low, waiting for the burst of hiring to come that always comes in the spring, this is the time when we regroup and really focus on our recruitment documents, what we're doing for outreach. And so my team did a couple of things in the last month or so. Our brochure has been really jazzy and updated. And so these will start floating around, as well as some other marketing kinds of materials. But this banner, and there are two of them, travel with a variety of our administrators across the district who go out to recruitment fairs to look for teachers and other kinds of staff members. Could be paraprofessionals, could be nurses, could be anybody. And so our administrators really do step up to decentralize a lot of our hiring. So they're looking at a variety of different career fairs this year. And they're going to take with us this nice banner. And there's a table that has a lot of information on it, including the Chromebook that runs a lot of our aerial views and the mayor's little updates about the career academies. So there are things on the table that are meant to be interactive as kids who are just getting ready to finish up their program start to communicate with all of our administrators about hiring. So we are hopeful that we will shake those trees and we will find those people. But I just wanted to share with you some of our new work.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you. So I would like to update the board, and really what's about to happen is really a spotlight our staff and our amazing students at Danbury High School. So I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, Principal Donovan and I received an email from a gentleman by the name of Charles Kenyon. And he left this cliffhanger-like email and goes, I have some exciting information to share with you. Might you be available? And Dan and I are going, what are you talking about? Right? And then the guy just disappears and we set up a date to meet. And then we come back, we finally set up a date to meet. And oh my goodness. And so it reminds us, and in the title it said Voice for Change. And so we're excited, but we've made some exciting announcements about Voice for Change. So we had no idea where this was going. And then he goes on to tell us that, Dan, I'm not going to steal your thunder, by the way, I promise.
Lean against the wall.
He goes on to tell us that Commissioner Russell Tucker is attending a conference on behalf of commissioners across the country and is going to be speaking about this amazing Voice for Change initiative that was started under her leadership here in the state of Connecticut. The board and the community might be aware that recently we celebrated Ms. Lorenz for her classroom leadership. We celebrated last year at the Black Box when the commissioner came down and visited us and really thanked us, because I think we made the commissioner look really good, quite frankly. But we had more submissions in the entire state of Connecticut than any school in the entire state of Connecticut. And so Dan, Heather, I want to thank you both for that. Let me just start there. But then it gets better because the challenge is a competition. And so our kids won, right? And I mean, it wasn't just like first place. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I'm sorry. And so, because we need you here. And so let me just go back to Washington. Commissioner Russell Tucker has been invited to Washington, D.C. with other commissioners across the country. She has asked Heather Lorenz and two students from Danbury High School to join her in a conversation about the Voice for Change initiative here in Danbury. And so Dan and I, it was like we birthed a child. It was like, oh my God. The commissioner is calling us to go to Washington, D.C. Dan, I'm going to stop talking now, please, so that Dan can
I just asked if I could chaperone.
And so, quite naturally, we asked Dan to come here this evening and introduce Heather Lorenz to, because some of the board members may not have been here last year when Heather, when we celebrated her the last time. Heather, I just want to go on record and just say I can't thank you enough for what you have done to get us to this point. And I'm convinced we are the commissioner's favorite district in the state of Connecticut, and it has a lot to do with the work that you have done. I know our teachers have benefited from this project. Dan has gone out of his way to do everything he can to also support staff in different ways, but you've really led the way. I can't thank you enough, because I still remember the email, by the way, hey, Mr. Walson, did we not apply for this opportunity for our kids? I can't thank you enough for pushing me to make sure that we apply for it. And so if you can come up and talk to us a little bit, because we'd like to celebrate you, embarrass you in front of everybody, so thank you.
Every time you bring me here, I get tears in my eyes. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to, I don't think I need a mic. I don't need a mic.
Well, our folks at home,
our folks at home might need me, okay. First of all, once again, I want to thank both you and Mr. Donovan for believing in me and letting me just run with it. I'm like a bull in a china shop sometimes. I want to make sure my kids have every opportunity possible. And this opportunity has opened up doors for so many of my kids. So many of my kids have gotten more active in their community, more active in understanding what's going on around the world. The teachers are ecstatic. It went from 1970 in our teachers' lounge to era 2020.
Can you tell the board and the community about the project and what happened?
Sure, I can give you. That project in particular was a selection of 5 by the commissioner. It was her first selection, and she chose it because it was the only project in the state where students focused on teachers' health and teachers' mental health, and how that has an effect on student health and well-being and learning in the classroom. And my kids they did a great job of writing it up, and she selected it, and they were ecstatic about it. But honestly, I don't think we would have been able to do even half of what we did if it wasn't for Mr. Donovan. And he won't gloat about that, but seriously, him and John LaRosa, our assistant principal at DHS, were significantly helpful in us obtaining furniture and getting it moved and getting things set up and just everything that went along with it. We're still in the process of rolling it out. We've gotten probably 3/4 of it done. We're hoping to have the rest of it done by maybe spring break or the end of the year. The second project was the water fountains project, which many of you may know. Chapel, he came here last year when he won, and he's actually going with me to DC, along with Viviana Flores, who last spring came and presented to the board about what Voice for Change was and one of the projects that they had done. So both are now college freshmen, and they are ecstatic that they have this opportunity too. And that project is going to be able to replace some very outdated water fountains throughout our school. And we're in the process of working on that, and the work will start spring break, and hopefully be done by the end of the school year. And that's going to be wonderful because we're going to go from, I think it's 4 water fountains or 4 water filling stations up to 8 by the end of this school year, and maybe a few more next year. Which is great because it gets kids back into classes faster. It allows them to stay hydrated. When they're hydrated, they're more focused in class. So it has a lot of benefits. Plus, it's better for the environment. Did you want me to talk about the presentation in DC also?
Go for it, please. I'd like to know what you're doing in DC.
Okay.
You want to know everything.
You want to know everything. Well, I can tell you what I know so far, which is not that much, but the conference is like I think the 17th or the 18th of March through the 22nd. We will be there. We're going down the 19th through the 22nd. We're coming back the 22nd. We are presenting on the 21st with the commissioner, and it is the CCSSO, so like the chief school, like the school chiefs, conference, legislative conference. And so the focus is on how COVID ESSER funds, made effective change for students throughout the country. And so our focus is going to be on student agency, right? Because that's what this project was about. It was about student agency and how I took the commissioner's initiative and created it into a project-based learning experience in the classroom, which then led to everything else. And the students are going to talk about their experience in the classroom doing this, and what they took out of it also. And so it's going to be showing how these funds made a difference in student agency. Not sure if I hit everything, but that's about all I know so far. We haven't had our planning meeting yet. So once we do, I'll have more. And obviously, once I'm back, I'll have more information to share.
Thank you, Heather.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And congratulations. Please take lots of pictures so we can show you off again. And for the Finance Committee and for the board, there is an item on our monthly budget report. And you'll notice under grants, it says Voice for Change. It's $30,000+ that through Heather's leadership and the students of Danbury helped to bring into the district. And then those funds are covering these projects that she's talking about tonight. So just wanted to connect the dots for our board members. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I guess Dan can go home, I guess, huh?
I'm out. Principal Donovan, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And last but not least, our superintendent goals update, school climate. And as the sub-bullet, it is school security. And Dr. Seelig is going to speak to some goals this year and how we're moving forward helping to address those goals.
Thank you, Superintendent. So there's a lot that's been happening in school safety and security. We're going to be talking a lot more about this in executive session. We'll be talking a little bit about some of our camera installations, our safety advocate staffing, some of the changes we've made in light of the safety audits that we conducted last year, and then also just some of our forward planning and thinking ahead that we're doing. But one of the things I wanted to talk about here was our RFP process that was launched last month. As you know, we have the state security grant that is supposed to be focused on multimedia interoperability. And this is really about increasing the district's capacity to interface with emergency operations in the city, and also the police department, fire, anybody that we need depending on the nature of the emergency. It was a significant grant. It's over $700,000, and we really wanted to make sure that we were picking the right software. So John Spang and I put together an RFP that went out, and it was last week when what's called the opening date. It doesn't mean that the RFP is open, it means it's actually closed, but we open all the submissions. So it was the opening date, and we had 4 really high quality submissions that we're very excited about. A little bit about that RFP. So the way you write it is you put in it your objectives for the things that you're trying to accomplish with the software or the systems that you're looking to acquire. And you can do it in a number of ways. You can either look for a sort of one-stop shop that would solve all your issues, or you could set it up in a way that you're going to cobble together 2 or 3 different pieces of technology. So we had 6 clear objectives that we wanted to achieve. We wanted a comprehensive system for managing, coordinating, and sharing critical security information. We currently do it manually. It makes updating and just keeping things a little bit more challenging. So we want a system that would coordinate these, have templates. We'd be able to say, here's your drill report, and things like that. We wanted capability for staff members to be able to alert emergency services or to alert administration very quickly. We wanted the capacity for school site mapping to aid in emergency response. If they were to go into the high school and weren't sure where D building was or G building was, they would have that capacity. And we also wanted some help around reunification software. So things, Pembroke's a great example. If there's a drill and all the kids are standing out on the field, the teacher currently has to have an attendance list. Everybody takes their paper out with them. We wanted to make sure that this is something that could be digitized. And for example, if Ms. Casimiro is supposed to be in my class, but she was maybe pulled out for a music class or intervention or whatever, that it would come up on my screen that she's grayed out and she's with another teacher and that I know she's safe. So the technology's really advanced in these areas. So these were some of the objectives that we wanted in place with this new system. So like I said, when we send this out, we got back 4 really high quality proposals from 4 very reputable companies. Raptor Technologies was one of them. Raptor is currently the system that we use to scan IDs when people show up, and they have an entire suite of services that we're very excited to see up close. Intrado is another company that's we've also worked with in the past, but primarily as a web host. But they've actually sort of pivoted their whole business model, and now they're all in on security. And I saw some of their stuff demoed at a conference not too long ago. It was very impressive. Navigate 360 is another company that responded. They're very heavy on the planning and templates piece of this work, and then they also have some of these other technologies and systems that we're looking for. And then Total Communications, who's primarily a communications company, but they also have some of these mechanisms to help contact emergency operations and the police department. So our kickoff meeting is tomorrow. We have put together a selection committee comprised of, I think, 11 members. We have a Board of Ed member on that committee, a selection of principals, central office administrators, and then we also have some partners from the city. So we have Captain LaRose from the police department and Matt Casavecchia from emergency operations, because we just want to make sure that everybody is seeing what the capabilities of the system are, and it's going to work for everybody. So our kickoff meeting is tomorrow. We'll be talking through a high level all these different proposals, kind of what our parameters are and what our process is going to be. And then we're going to schedule the pitch sessions, either one day where we're just going to have a marathon, kind of Shark Tank style pitch where they're going to come in and show us the product and, let us play with the gadgets and do a demo of it. We might break it up into 2 days. We'll see what makes more sense for the group. But we're hoping to have a decision in the next few weeks, and then enter contract shortly thereafter. And I look forward to sharing what we chose and all the great capabilities that it's going to have.
Thank you. So that, well, before I say that concludes the superintendent's report, I want to say, and I just want to share this for the families that are in the audience. It was important for the chairperson and I to make sure we had an opportunity to respond to the words that were shared tonight. The superintendent's update was specifically aligned to security and school climate goals. So I don't want to be insensitive to what we heard this evening and think that the goals that were shared tonight, it's specifically aligned, and it's indirectly it's helping everybody, including Pembroke, but it's not speaking to that incident because this has been planned actually months ago to provide an update. It just so happens that it just happens to be tonight. And then there were some more details that we will be speaking about. So Mike has intentionally kept this very high level. We will go into executive session. And so I'm sharing this with the audience and also for our folks at home. Go to executive session to speak in more detail about the things that we're hoping that these programs can provide in terms of security support and upgrades, but also some other things in terms of personnel that we are looking to do district-wide. Those things are not high level and kind of meets the requirement for executive session, which I just want to be clear. Thank you. That really concludes the superintendent's report.
Oh, is that me up next?
I'm sorry, through the chair, could I just sort of ask the question? And something that was going to come in executive session, I can wait till then. But as we talk about the parents that are here, the fear from the children going to school, the bomb threats, everything else that's going on in our country. And you guys knew what happened here at a board meeting a couple of years or so ago when we got shut down. So, I'm not no doctor and none of us are doctors. How can we sort of come together and not have that fear, and students and teachers working within those facilities not have that type of fear? Because you know what, we can say it won't happen. A lot of other places said, I didn't think this was happening in my little elite community. Okay? And things happen. And we can't understand why these things happen. No one can. But the fear of a child, and I have 2 grandchildren in the school system too. So, I don't want them to tell me they don't want to go to school. And I guess my question is, how can we work on that good social, emotional feeling to get people back, or get our students and our faculty back in that sort of halfway comfort zone? And I know it's a hard task.
So, Ms. Cooper, it is a hard task, and we're acknowledging that we have to do something about it. And the point that I had raised earlier, the investigation is one thing, and identifying the person responsible is one thing, but we understand clearly that we have to work hard to repair the damage that's been done in the meantime. And when I'm talking about damage, I'm talking about the anxiety that we've heard our parents talk about tonight, helping to support kids and staff in any way, and families any way we can, how those anxieties have led to fear, and in some cases, fear even coming to school. So trying to, as one of my assistant superintendents said today, we need to provide some type of reset in our school community, and so we will be working hard with staff to do that. But we wanted to listen, and I'm suggesting that we start by listening. And so we will start that next week with the staff and with the families, and then come up with a plan to do the very thing that you're asking about, and that is come up with some type of plan to help, again, give our families and our community the confidence that we can't promise this will never happen again, but we do want to assure folks that everyone is working toward the same goal, and that's to keep our school community safe. And with that type of momentum, I think folks will feel better about coming to school and coming back. So we understand there's a lot of work ahead of us, and we will be focused on it.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
Thank you.
And so I want to make a comment. I'm up here, I'm cracking jokes and trying to make light of some stuff to make people laugh. But I'm actually pretty, I'm kind of upset about, what's going on for Rich and Chrissy who know me. I understand what it seems like because you're getting a lot of words and you're getting a lot of, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. I get it. Parents who went through the school, I have kids who went through the school district. I would be where you are now and feeling the same way that you guys are. But not that it makes a big difference or if it doesn't make you feel better, we are on top of it. And it is concerning. And I know in public participation, we really can't get into it as much as I wanted to. And a couple of times I just felt like screaming. But, and I'm having a hard time with it. And you guys are living it real time. So I can understand what you're going through. And I know sometimes, it seems like, because I've been involved in emails, it's, yeah, we're doing this and we're doing that. But we've been in many, many conversations, even over the break and stuff like that. There is a concern, and I'm confident in the staff doing what they can do, and we all want to get to the bottom of it. And this is just more talk, I get it. But I'm just trying to, for the people who do know me, know how serious we take this, and if that helps in any way, that we're on top of it and we're doing what we can, I hope it does. If it doesn't, I understand too, but I'm sitting up here and I'm stewing to try to say something, and I guess when you're board chair, you could say what you want. So I'm just gonna say it now and be done with it and hope that helps, that we are working at it. And I'm gonna accompany Kevin next Thursday, if that's okay. And just, any questions, any answers, we're there. Whatever we can do, we can do. That's all. I got off on a tangent. Anyway. All right. What was I saying? No.
We were wrapping that up.
Yeah.
Can I sort of ask a question that I think has benefited the board ever since they were coming on? Is there a reason we don't have in our educational staff come before us anymore?
That's a good question.
Because they used to come and do the presentation from the schools, and it was very enlightening as to what was going on at the school.
I think we changed that over to Spotlight in school, so they come at that point, right? Exactly.
Is that what you did? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I think.
First of all.
Okay.
Yeah, that was.
Okay.
Good. All right. Is it board chairperson's report already?
Discussion and then information.
Those are on. There's no discussion, right? And items on information.
Just making the board and the community aware.
Okay.
Board chair.
Okay. So board chair report. Sorry, I'm thrown off here tonight. So just a couple things. Some meeting updates and some times. We are going to do a 2/27 at 5:30. We were going to do a roles and responsibilities workshop. I've asked Tom Mooney, and most people know, to just come in and give us kind of a overview of roles and responsibilities, and for board members, it's good to do that. Every now and then. So we're planning that on 2/27 at 5:30. That's when Mr. Mooney has availability. And I think it was good since we've appointed a new board member. Congratulations, Jesse Fernandez. So we wanted to do it after we appointed a new board member. So that'll be 5:30 here on 2/27. And then 3/1, there's a sites and facilities meeting, but also we want to have a special board meeting to get a presentation from the city on the new academy, because there's, to see plans and see, how the construction is gonna progress going forward. So that's 3/1. Sites and facilities, I believe, is at 6 o'clock. And so we're gonna make that in person, and then go right into a 7 o'clock special meeting with a presentation, for the board. Don't worry, Ms. Cooper, it'll only be till 10 o'clock that night, you'll be okay.
Excuse me.
Yes.
The 227, they haven't sent out the invitation for.
No, we're doing,
Today.
it'll go from carry.
Okay.
I wanted to mention it to make sure everybody had the time, so, yeah. And,
All our meetings are in person, right?
yes.
These two.
And, yeah, so the 3/9 meeting with the CABE, that one's canceled.
We're not having that.
We're not having that because we're,
The 27th.
absolutely.
Okay.
Right. And, speaking of, my last thing, speaking of the new academy, for some people might know that we are moving the offices and the boardroom into, the new academy, correct? So
The Cartersville.
So I just want to make people aware, we are starting the process of naming the new boardroom after one of our most esteemed board members who served on this board for 31 years, Ms. Gladys Cooper. So I just want to let everybody know. And I know I didn't want to embarrass her, but Gladys and I go back a little way. And she was kind of the first one who guided me when I was elected in 2013. She gave me some advice about saying things out loud that, think before you talk. Obviously, it hasn't worked. But I think Ms. Cooper kind of, and I don't want to embarrass her and get her upset, she's kind of a picture of what a board member should be. And like I said, I've had the pleasure of serving with her, on and off since 2013, and probably one of the most respected people who's ever been on the board and in the community. So we are starting that process. I don't know what the process is, but it's gonna get started. And that's what we want to do, and we just want to recognize her for that here tonight. So, thank you, Ms. Wood. I'm pretty much out of everything at this point. Any board members or committees or PTOs or anything else that anyone wants to say before we wrap it up? Yeah, so we need, executive session, yes. So we need a motion to adjourn public session. Al made the motion to adjourn from public session.
I'll second.
Seconded by Warren. All in favor? Aye. I need a motion to enter executive session. Motion by Mr. Russo. Seconded by Teresa. To enter executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Great.